Hi everybody, thanks for joining us for Northern Ag TV. Well, President Donald Trump held a large celebration over the weekend where he launched the year-long Great American State Fair, celebrating America's 250th birthday. The Great American State Fair will travel across the country, bringing America 250 programming to county fairs while hosting a festival on the National Mall next Independence Day. At the launching, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins announced a proclamation calling on all states to celebrate agriculture's heritage by hosting the America 250 program at each fair. Rollins noted that the display of America's strong livestock, bountiful harvest, rich communities, and thriving families at state fairs across the nation is evidence that the vision of our founders cast 249 years ago. Rollins wants the celebration to highlight families who feed, fuel, and clothe our country in each state across the nation. And the U.S. Department of Agriculture designated 4 counties across Montana as natural disaster areas, with the 10 neighboring counties also eligible for assistance. The USDA Farm Service Agency will extend emergency credit to producers recovering from drought in Flathead, Glacier, Pend Oreille, and Teton County in Montana. Emergency loans can be used to replace equipment, livestock, or reorganization of your operation. For more information on the emergency loans, visit your local FSA office or your local USDA service center. And the U.S. Meat Export Federation reported that a standoff with trade deals on China are weighing heavily on exports for U.S. red meat. U.S. Meat Export Federation President and CEO Dan Holstrom stated that China's total tariff rate on U.S. pork reached 172% in the month of May, while beef, they reached 147%. Dan Holstrom shares where the issues for meat exports to China lie.
The real issue around the beef side is that the vast majority of our plant establishments are not listed in the registration system, so it doesn't really matter what the duties are. On the pork side, while the good news there is the plants are listed for the most part, we continue to fight these tariff fluctuations as high as 172%, and then in mid-May we saw the pork tariff come down to 57%. So the bottom line here is this just heightens the overall strategy, the diversification of markets and expansion into new markets.
And the U.S. Meat Export Federation reported that in the first 5 months of this year, pork exports fell 6% in value, while beef exports, they were not far behind, dropping another 5% from this time a year ago. Stay with us. We'll be back with a look at the markets after this.
From the beginning, we've worked closely with farmers. BNSF's ties to the agricultural community go back 175 years. Together, we've innovated to make the U.S. agriculture supply chain one of the most efficient and productive in the world. Our strong relationship powers BNSF still today and helps us move the nation like no one else can. At BNSF, we move the nation for you.
Talking with someone that you know is stressed out, those are difficult things to approach, but if you're good friends with those people, reach out and say, I'm here to talk to you. We can find somewhere to get some assistance. It's hard to get involved, but at the same time, you want to just say, hey, there is help available.
For more tips in dealing with stress in agriculture or for free counseling for egg producers, visit beyondtheweather.com.
Well, due to strong trade in the equity markets and ample support in the cattle markets, futures found themselves trading higher to record highs once again. Feeder cattle contracts traded $2 to $4 higher, with the August feeder cattle contract up $4 at $3.13, and live cattle contracts traded $1 to $2 higher, with August reaching $2.12. This week will be a very interesting week for the markets to see how invested packers will stay, as we can all assume that feedlot managers will hold out for higher cash cattle prices this week. Live bids last week ranged from $222 to $230, with dress bids bringing $368 to $370, about $2 lower than the previous week's averages. We also did see a slip in the box beef prices, but it appears that values have corrected themselves quickly. Yesterday, choice cutouts were up over $1, back up to $391. For the auction market, yesterday kicked off the Superior Livestock's Week in the Rockies video auction. This week, Superior will sell over 300,000 head of cattle. Region 2 yearlings will sell on Wednesday, with calves set to sell this Friday. Some prices from the southern region yesterday had light 5-weight heifers for October delivery selling from $333 to $342, light to mid 5-weight steers for October delivery $370 to $375, and 6-weight steers brought $330 to $335. Now for the grain markets, there was no optimism for the futures board as the Monday slump strikes again. Corn contracts fell in the afternoon around 15 cents. Now there was some bullish news for corn as corn export inspections for last week were 30% higher than a year ago, and the USDA estimating a 16% increase for the 2025 marketing year. However, President Trump did announce that starting on August 1st, a 25% tariff will be set on Japan and South Korea, sparking a sell-off. Soybean futures followed the plunge in the corn futures as they fell double digits as traders were expecting to hear a buying announcement from China at the end of last week and have not heard any confirmation of a new deal. For the wheat markets, the losses were held to a minimum, but contracts still fell from 5 to 8 cents. Weather concerns remain for spring wheat conditions as much of the growing areas did see weekend rain. However, the forecast for the next 2 weeks looks rather dry. Also adding pressure for wheat was the tariff announcement on Japan and South Korea, which may lead to more selling and bearishness this week. KC winter wheat in July closed at $5.08, with July spring wheat closing at $6.20. Well, that's all the time we have here for Northern Ag TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Colton Young.